Creating paragraphs in narrative writing. Paragraphs help organize your writing and make it easier for the reader to follow. How and why are paragraphs used? Here's pages 3 and 4 from the book Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I'm going to read them aloud to you now so we can use them as we talk about paragraphing. Tears ran down her cheeks, and she took hold of the axe and tried to pull it out of her father's hand. "Fern," said Mr. Arable, "I know more about raising a litter of pigs than you do. A weakling makes trouble. Now run along." "But it's unfair," cried Fern. "The pig couldn't help being born small, could it? If I'd been born very small at birth, would you have killed me?" Mr. Arable smiled. "Certainly not," he said, looking down at his daughter with love. "But this is different. A little girl is one thing. A little runty pig is another." "I see no difference," replied Fern, still hanging on to the axe. "This is the most terrible case of injustice I've ever heard of." A queer look came over John Arable's face. He seemed almost ready to cry himself. "All right," he said. "You go back to the house, and I'll bring the runt when I come in. I'll let you start it in on a bottle like a baby. Then you'll see what trouble a pig can be." When Mr. Arable returned to the house half an hour later, he carried a carton under his arm. Fern was upstairs changing her sneakers. The kitchen table was set for breakfast, and the room smelled of coffee, bacon, damp plaster, and wood smoke from the stove. "Put it on her chair," said Mrs. Arable. Mr. Arable set the carton down at Fern's place. Then he walked to the sink and washed his hands and dried them on the roller towel. Fern came slowly down the stairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled, and there was a scratching noise. Fern looked at her father. Then she lifted the lid of the carton. There, inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears, turning them pink. "He's yours," said Mr. Arable, "saved from an untimely death, and may the good Lord forgive me for this foolishness." Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. "Oh," she whispered, "oh, look at him. He's absolutely perfect." Where do paragraphs start, and how do you know? So if you look here on page 3, you'll notice that at each of the red arrows, the author has started a new paragraph. So notice every time there's a new paragraph, the author hit enter and went to the next line, and then tab to indent. So on a computer, if you're ready to start a new paragraph, you hit enter to go to the next line and tab to indent. That indent lets your reader know that there's a shift, and we're going to talk about next what that shift may be, why a new paragraph starts. But this will help cue your reader. So why does the author start a new paragraph? If the setting changes. Now that could be time or place. Maybe it goes from the morning to the afternoon, or the character starts in the kitchen and then goes outside. Also, every time a new character talks, there's a new paragraph. Even if the character only says a few words, it's still going to start a new paragraph. So sometimes paragraphs can be very short. And the last reason why a paragraph shifts is if a topic or event changes. Anytime there's a little shift in topic or event. So let's take a look back at Charlotte's Web and see if we can notice these shifts and when paragraphs started. So if we think about looking for a setting change, thinking about when a time or place shifted, you'll notice right here, Mr. Arable returned to the house. He's no longer out in the barn, so the author had to start a new paragraph because the setting changes. Here, you'll notice that the author indented because a new character talks. In this paragraph, Father's talking. And then here, Fern begins talking. So they had to start a new paragraph. And lastly, a topic or event change. So they were in the kitchen and Mr. Arable was busy kind of cleaning up and setting up the pig. And then it kind of shifts to Fern now entering and Fern seeing the pig for the first time. So this is a little event change in the story. Take a look at some of the ones I didn't put arrows on. See if you can figure out, why did the author start a new paragraph there? Which one of these reasons was it? You might turn and tell someone near you. You might jot it down on a sheet of paper. Or maybe just think it out loud. Okay. Give this strategy a try. Go into a writing piece and see if you can begin to create paragraphs, thinking about, did the setting change? Is a new character talking? Or is there a new topic or event happening? By creating paragraphs, you're helping your reader follow your piece. You're making your piece clear to your reader. Can't wait to read your pieces.